All right, so we're diving deep today into Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad's Conspiracy of the Rich. This one kind of shakes things up. It makes you think differently about money. Like, where did we get these ideas about money in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, it really challenges the traditional, advice that we've all been given about finances, and even goes back to, history. Kiyosaki talks about President Nixon taking the U.S. dollar off the gold standard in 1971, and how that's had a ripple effect all the way to, here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena.
I mean, how can something that happened like over 50 years ago, how is that still messing with our wallets today?
Well, I think that's what's so fascinating about this book. Kiyosaki connects these seemingly unrelated events, and you start to see a bigger picture. That decision to take the dollar off gold, it really did. It shifted the entire global financial system. It changed what, money represents. We went from something tangible like gold to this system built on debt. He basically says it's kind of like, monopoly money now.
Oh, wow. So you're saying our whole financial system is like a game of Monopoly.
Well, think about it, right?
Yeah.
In Monopoly, the banker can just print more money whenever they want. And in a way, fractional reserve banking, it allows real banks to do something similar. They can lend out, way more money than they actually have. They kind of create it out of thin air. And that's where things get tricky for the average person.
So how does this, what Kiyosaki calls this monopoly money system, how does that actually work against folks here in our community?
Well, he argues, this system, it contributes to inflation, right? Which means the money in your pocket, it buys less and less over time. And when you combine that with the fact that, most of us never really learned about money in school, it's like, it's no wonder people feel trapped. They work and work, but they never really get ahead.
Yeah, it does feel like there's this hidden game being played, and most of us, we don't even know the rules.
And Kiyosaki, he doesn't shy away from, using the word conspiracy. And to understand what he means, it's helpful to look at another analogy he uses. It's from a book called Grunch of Giants by R. Buckminster Fuller.
Grunch of Giants. Okay, never heard of that one. What's the Grunch all about?
Okay, so Grunch stands for Gross Universe Cash Heist. Basically, the book argues that these powerful entities, they've historically exploited the masses through their control of money. Does that sound familiar? I mean, think about the 2008 financial crisis, right? The bailout of AIG, the big insurance company.
Right. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. But how does that tie into this idea of a financial conspiracy?
Well, a lot of that bailout money, it didn't go to helping, the average person who was struggling. It went to the banks. And Kiyosaki, he says this lack of transparency, it's a key part of this whole conspiracy. He argues that the system is designed to keep people in the dark about money. He even suggests that traditional education, it's meant to create obedient workers, not financially savvy people. And he actually cites this book by G. Edward Griffin. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island, to back up this claim.
So if we aren't taught how money really works, we're easier to control.
Right. And it makes you wonder, why isn't financial literacy, why isn't that like a core subject in school? It seems like pretty essential knowledge for navigating life, especially here in our community where so many folks are working hard to make ends meet.
Yeah. It really does make you, stop and think, whose interests are being served by the current system, right? So we've talked about this potential, conspiracy, and we've talked about how financial education is the key to breaking free, but what can we actually do about it? Especially folks right here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena, what can they do?
Well, that's where Kiyosaki's 8 new rules of money come in. He believes, these rules, they can help anyone, regardless of their background, take control of their finances, build real wealth, even in a system that might seem rigged against them.
All right. Lay it on me.
Yeah.
What are these new rules?
Okay, so the first rule focuses on cash flow over capital gains. It's about building assets that put money in your pocket consistently rather than chasing investments that, maybe someday they'll go up in value, but you're not seeing those returns right away.
I'm guessing real estate plays a big role in this.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the market is pretty hot here in Southeast Houston.
You got it. Kiyosaki, he uses his own experience, building a portfolio of income-producing properties. He started small, but he gradually built up this system that generated consistent cash flow. That's how he achieved financial independence.
So it's not about, getting rich quick. It's about building sustainable wealth through smart investments that generate consistent income.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, especially for those of us who want to build a strong financial foundation here in our community. So what else? What else does Kiyosaki suggest?
Okay, so his second rule, this one might surprise you. He says you can print your own money, legally, of course, by understanding how things like derivatives work.
Hold on. Print your own money. Now that sounds too good to be true. And maybe even a little, illegal.
It's not counterfeiting. He's talking about using, sophisticated financial strategies to leverage your existing capital. For example, he explains an option strategy where you buy stocks for the long term, right? And then you sell options on a monthly basis, potentially generating some extra income.
Okay, so that's starting to sound a little complicated for someone like me who still gets, intimidated by balancing their checkbook. But I mean, I am intrigued by the idea of generating some extra income, especially in this economy. Is there a way to make this concept like accessible to everyday folks like us?
Absolutely. Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of financial education, seeking out resources that can help you understand these concepts. And that actually leads us to his third rule, which is about learning to control cash flow, understanding how money moves and using that knowledge to your advantage.
I've heard him talk about like a triangle. I think he calls it the BI triangle.
Exactly. The B stands for business owner and the I for investor. And this triangle, it represents the 8 integrities of a successful business, which can be applied to, your personal finances as well.
Okay, break it down for me. What are these 8 integrities all about?
All right, they include things like mission, team, leadership, cash flow, communications, systems, legal, and product. Basically, they're the building blocks, for creating a solid foundation for financial success.
So it's about having all these elements working together, in harmony. It's not just about making money. It's about having, a clear purpose, building a strong team, managing resources effectively. It sounds like a pretty solid roadmap for, building financial stability, both individually and for our community as a whole.
Exactly. And remember, this applies whether you're running a business or just managing your personal finances. It's about having a holistic approach.
Man, there is so much to learn and explore here. It's a little overwhelming, but in a good way. I am definitely eager to dive into the rest of Kiyosaki's new rules, and I'm sure our listeners are too. So we'll pick it up in part 2. I'm really interested to see how these ideas can empower us to make some positive changes here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena.
Sounds good. We'll see you there. Welcome back. We've covered 3 of Kiyosaki's new rules so far, and I bet you're starting to see how these ideas could really, shake things up, not just for, individuals, but for whole communities like ours here in the Southeast Houston.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This book is it's a real call to action. It's not just about understanding, the financial system. It's about actively shaping our financial futures. So what's next? What's the next new rule that can help us do that?
Okay, so rule number 4, it reminds us that good times, they don't last forever. So it's all about being prepared for those inevitable downturns.
Yeah, that sounds like something Kiyosaki's rich dad would have drilled into him from a young age, huh?
Exactly. He actually uses the story of the 3 little pigs, to illustrate this point. The one who built his house out of brick, he was the only one who could withstand the wolf.
Oh, yeah. The power of a strong foundation. So how do we apply that to our finances? How do we build those metaphorical brick houses?
Well, Kiyosaki, he believes that another major financial crisis is inevitable. He doesn't sugarcoat things. He even draws parallels to the Great Depression. He even suggests that things could get worse than they were in 2008.
Oh man, yeah. He talks about hyperinflation, right? Where prices just like skyrocket and money becomes basically worthless. I remember hearing stories from my grandparents about those times. Yeah, it sounds pretty intense.
It does. Imagine needing a wheelbarrow full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread, And while some folks might, be inclined to start stockpiling supplies, Kiyosaki's main point is that we need to be, financially savvy enough to adapt to, whatever comes our way.
So it's not about panicking. It's about being prepared.
Yeah.
It's about being informed. Knowledge really is power, especially when it comes to finances.
Right. And that leads us to rule number 5, the need for speed.
Speed. I'm not sure I follow. How does speed relate to our personal finances?
Well, it's about recognizing that the world is moving faster than ever,
Yeah.
especially in this age of information and the faster you adapt and make decisions, the more opportunities you'll have to, create wealth.
That makes sense in the business world for sure, right? You
Yeah.
have to be able to seize opportunities quickly to, stay ahead of the curve. But how does this apply to, everyday people?
Well, it's about being, agile. It's about being open to new ways of generating income. I mean, think about how technology is changing the job market. What worked for previous generations, might not be as effective today.
It's like that example Kiyosaki gives about the doctor versus the teenager with an online business, right?
Mhm.
The doctor's limited by the number of patients they can see,
Mhm.
but the teenager can potentially reach millions of customers online. It really highlights the need to be, adaptable, to think outside the box.
Exactly. The faster you can, learn new skills, adapt to changing markets, and make informed decisions, the better position you'll be to thrive.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
And that brings us to rule number 6. The rich don't work for money. Okay, now this one sounds a little counterintuitive, Don't we all have to work for money in some way?
Well, what Kiyosaki means is that, the wealthy, they focus on building assets that generate passive income rather than solely relying on trading their time for money.
So he talks about the rat race versus the fast track.
Yeah.
Right. Most of us, we're stuck in that rat race, working for a paycheck, paying bills, and never really, getting ahead.
Yeah, the rat race, it represents that cycle of, working for a paycheck and never quite reaching financial stability. It's the trap that so many people in, what he calls the E and S quadrants find themselves in, employee and self-employed.
And the fast track is like the path to financial freedom.
Exactly. It's about building, businesses and investments that generate passive income, moving towards the B&I quadrants, business owner and investor.
Okay. So it's about, creating a system that works for you even when you're not actively working. That sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
But how do we transition from the rat race to the fast track?
Well, that's what Kiyosaki aims to, teach through his books and programs. He argues that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve financial freedom, if
Sure.
they learn the rules and develop their financial intelligence.
So it's not about being born rich. It's about adopting a wealthy mindset
Yeah.
and taking action. It seems like there's a strong theme of empowerment that runs through all of Kiyosaki's work.
Absolutely. He wants to, equip people with the tools and knowledge to take control of their financial destinies. And that brings us to rule number 7. The secret of success is to sell.
Okay, I got to admit, this is where I get a little uncomfortable. Sales isn't exactly my forte.
I understand. But Kiyosaki, he's not just talking about, being a pushy salesperson, right? He's talking about the broader concept of selling your ideas, your skills, your value to the world.
He even credits his experience in sales at Xerox for his success as an author, right?
Exactly. It was there that he learned the importance of overcoming, fear of rejection, building rapport, and effectively communicating, the value of what you're offering.
So even if we don't see ourselves as, entrepreneurs, developing those sales skills can empower us in so many areas of life, right? We can negotiate better salaries, advocate for ourselves and our ideas, create more opportunities. This applies to everyone, not just business owners.
Right. It's about taking control of your career and your financial future rather than passively accepting whatever comes your way. Kiyosaki, he believes that everyone has something valuable to offer, whether it's a product, a service, or simply their time and talents.
He recommends Blair Singer's sales training programs, right? For anyone who, wants to level up their skills in this area.
He does. And Blair Singer, I mean, he is a renowned expert in sales and communication. His programs, they could be valuable resources for, anyone looking to improve their communication and persuasion skills. I mean, whether they're applying for a job, pitching a business idea, or even just, negotiating with their kids.
So we've learned about the importance of cash flow, preparation, speed, and selling. What's the final rule that kind of brings all this together?
Well, rule number 8 is all about building for the future. It's about recognizing that our financial decisions today, they have ripple effects that impact not only our own lives, but but the lives of future generations.
It's about leaving a legacy,
Yeah.
right? Not just for ourselves, but for our children and grandchildren.
Exactly. Kiyosaki uses his own life as an example, you know. He and his wife Kim, they've built a solid financial foundation that's going to provide for them long into the future, allowing them to, pursue their passions, support causes that they care about.
And he stresses the importance of teaching these principles to future generations,
Yeah.
right? Breaking that cycle of financial dependence and empowering them to create a better future. That resonates with the mission of Think and Act Locally.
Mhm.
We want to equip our community with the tools to create a brighter future for everyone in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's about shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance.
That's a powerful thought. Okay, so we've covered all 8 of Kiyosaki's new rules, and I'm feeling pretty inspired. But now I'm wondering where do we go from here? How do we how do we take all this information and actually apply it to our lives?
That's the $1 million question, and that's something we'll delve into in part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dives into Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad's Conspiracy of the Rich.
Yeah.
We've made it. We've explored all 8 of his new rules of money, and it's been quite a journey.
It has, yeah. We've covered a lot of ground, from challenging traditional financial thinking to exploring strategies for building wealth and achieving financial independence.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, and I'm sure our listeners are, they're probably eager to know like how to put all of this into practice.
Right. That's the crucial question. How do we move beyond just understanding these concepts and actually start thinking and acting differently?
So how do we break free from this so-called conspiracy? Where do we even begin?
Well, Kiyosaki, he emphasizes that, financial literacy, it's an ongoing journey. It's not a destination, It's about continuously learning, adapting, and making informed choices that align with your goals.
He talks about the importance of taking action, right? Even if it's just small steps and learning from your mistakes along the way.
Yeah. Absolutely. He uses the analogy of, a child learning to walk. They stumble and fall, countless times before they master it.
So it's okay to make mistakes,
Yeah.
as long as we as long as we learn from them. We shouldn't let fear hold us back from taking those first steps.
Exactly. Kiyosaki, he encourages readers to embrace a mindset of experimentation, view setbacks as opportunities for growth. Don't be afraid to try new things, even if you don't get it perfect the first time.
And he also talks about the power of mentorship.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with a supportive community.
Yeah.
That's something we really value here at Think and Act Locally.
He credits, his rich dad for providing, invaluable guidance and support, as he was navigating the world of business and investing. He encourages everyone to, seek out mentors, join mastermind groups, and connect with others who are on a similar path.
Yeah, it's about building a network of support and accountability, recognizing that we're not meant to do this alone. We can all learn from each other's experiences and successes.
And speaking of support systems, Kiyosaki also highlights the importance of seeking out financial education, beyond traditional schooling.
He's a big advocate for his cash flow games and clubs,
Yeah.
right? I've heard those can be really helpful for learning about these concepts in a fun and engaging way.
Oh, absolutely. They provide a safe space to experiment with different financial strategies and develop your financial IQ without risking real money.
It's like a financial simulator.
Yeah.
Where you can make mistakes and learn from them in a controlled environment.
And in the cash flow clubs, they offer that sense of community, connecting you with like-minded individuals who can support and encourage you along your journey.
This is making me think about how, we can create more opportunities for financial education right here in our community. Maybe we could even start a local cash flow club.
Oh, I love that idea. That aligns perfectly with the Think and Act Locally mission, empowering residents of Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena to take control of their financial futures.
Yeah, we could partner with local businesses and organizations to offer workshops and resources, create a network of support for financial literacy.
The possibilities are, they're endless. By working together, we can create a more financially empowered community, where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
I am feeling so energized after this deep dive. Kiyosaki's book has truly been an eye opener, and it's given me a whole new perspective on how to approach my finances.
It's a powerful call to action, challenging us to question the status quo, seek out knowledge, and take proactive steps to create the financial future we desire.
So what's the one small step our listeners can take today to start applying these principles to their own lives?
That's a great question to ponder. It could be something as simple as picking up a personal finance book, joining a financial education group, or even just having an open and honest conversation with your family about your financial goals.
Yeah, the important thing is to start, right? Even if it's just one small step. Momentum builds over time, and consistent action leads to lasting results.
And remember, you don't have to have all the answers right away. Embrace the journey, stay curious, and never stop learning.
That's such great advice. And for our listeners who are looking for resources to support their financial literacy journey, be sure to check out the show notes. We'll have links to Kiyosaki's Cash Ape Flow games and clubs, as well as other valuable tools and information.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive and want to support our mission of empowering our local community, consider making a donation at thinkandactlocally.com/donate.
Every contribution helps us to continue to provide valuable insights and resources that can make a real difference right here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Rich Dad's Conspiracy of the Rich.
We hope it's inspired you to think differently about money, challenge the status quo, and take control of your financial future. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thinking and acting locally.